Next, in this video, we are going to study about inductive effect and hyperconjugation effects. So first one, it is inductive effect. It is also known as eye effect. So before that, remember that inductive effect, then hyperconjugation effect and resonance effect, that is R effect. All these are actually permanent effects. So these are the permanent effects that we are going to study. So in this video, we will be studying only about eye effect and hyperconjugation effect. So first one is inductive effect or eye effect. What is meant by inductive effect or eye effect? Just look at this example. The given molecule is CH3, CH2, 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 Cl, a halo alkane. So here, when we say about a covalent bond, when a covalent bond means what? A bond which is formed by mutual sharing. Even though it is formed by mutual sharing of electrons between two atoms, how a covalent bond becomes a polar covalent bond? When a covalent bond becomes a polar covalent bond? Yes, when a covalent bond is formed between two different atoms. Different atoms means what? Differing in the electronegativity. So when a covalent bond, if it is formed between two different atoms differing in the electronegativity, even though the bond is formed by mutual sharing of electrons, this shared pair of electrons will be shifting little bit more close towards the more electronegative atom. So that the more electronegative atom will be getting a partial negative charge and the other atom will be getting partial positive charge. So already we have learned about all these things in the chemical bonding chapter. So here in this given molecule, we know that here you can see chlorine. We know that chlorine is a halogen which is highly electronegative. So this carbon-chlorine bond is actually a covalent bond, but due to high electronegativity of chlorine, what happens? Chlorine gets a partial negative because this shared pair of electrons will be shifting more close towards chlorine. If it is moving more close towards chlorine means it is moving little bit away from this carbon, so that this carbon gets a partial positive charge. So we have already studied about this polarity, isn't it? Now, due to this polarization, that is inductive effect. Due to this polarization, which is due to the difference in electronegativity, what happens in the on adjacent carbon atoms, or what happens on adjacent bonds? That is called inductive effect. So here, due to the development of this partial positive charge, or delta plus is representing what? A slight positive charge or partial positive charge. So due to this positive charge on this carbon, what happens to this shared pair of electrons? Basically they are electrons, negatively charged, isn't it? So this shared pair also will be shifting towards this carbon, so that this carbon gets another slight, very slight positive charge, that is 2 delta plus. 2 delta plus is compared to delta plus, 2 delta plus is again smaller positive charge. Now due to this very slight positive charge on this carbon, what happens? This shared pair of electron will be shifting close towards this carbon, so that on this carbon it again develops very little or very small positive charge, that is represented by 3 delta plus. 3 delta plus means it is smaller than 2 delta plus. 2 delta plus is smaller than delta plus. That means as the number of carbon atoms increases, this polarization is actually decreasing. So after 3 carbon atoms, there will not be much effect on this carbon, because 3 delta plus itself is very small or very slight positive charge. 3 delta plus means very small positive charge. So this is what we call as inductive effect. So how we can define like inductive effect? Actually the whole thing happened only due to the polarization of this bond. Only due to this polarization, here the polarization happened. So how we can define inductive effect? It is defined as the polarization. Here all you can see only sigma bonds. So, it is the polarization of a sigma bond caused due to the polarization of adjacent sigma bond. So, it is defined as the polarization of a sigma bond caused by the adjacent sigma bond. Due to the polarization on the adjacent bond, the polarization of the other sigma bond is happening. And this is what we call as inductive effect. And see how the electrons are moving, how we are representing inductive effect is, here the flow of electrons towards chlorine. Here also, so we are drawing an arrow which we are drawing along the bonds, not above or below the bond, draw along the bonds. So, after 3 carbon atoms, what happens? The effect decreases rapidly as the number of carbon atoms increases and becomes vanishingly small after 3 bonds. So, maximum till which carbon atoms you can see the inductive effect? Maximum only till 3 carbon atoms, and remember it is a delocalization of, for the polarization, no delocalization, no movement, nothing. It is only the polarization of sigma bonds, not pi bonds. No delocalization and no pi bond here, it is only polarization of sigma bond. Okay. Now, there are 2 types of, how we are explaining inductive effect is with respect to the group or the substituents present. So, whether the electrons are flowing towards the substituent or whether the electrons are flowing away from the substituent. So, depending on the substituents or based on the ability of the substituents or the groups are classified as plus I groups. Plus I groups means electron donating, they are also known as electron releasing groups, or minus I groups or electron withdrawing groups. The very important concept for next year. So, in 12th standard everywhere we will be using this value as value point, plus I group and minus I group. So, which are the examples of plus I group? All the alkyl groups are methyl, ethyl, propyl, isobutyl, tertiary butyl, all the alkyl groups are plus I or electron releasing or electron donating. They will be donating electrons to the adjacent position. Okay. Now, which are the minus I groups or electron withdrawing groups? That is all the carbon containing functional groups like aldehyde, ketone, acid, ester, cyano group, acid chloride, all these are minus I or electron withdrawing groups. Okay, then another example is halogen. Halogen atom, just now only we saw in the previous slide, that is here when halogen comes, what happens? The halogen will be pulling electron, withdrawing, it will withdraw electron from the adjacent bond. So, it is electron withdrawing or minus I. Then very important minus I or electron withdrawing group is nitro group, very important group. Then sulfonic acid, all these are very important. So, very important 2 points which are the plus I groups and minus I groups. It is very important for class 12, study all the groups, all the examples for plus I and minus I groups. Now, there is a few questions in your textbook. Problem 12.14, the question is which of the following bond? Which of the bond is more polar in the following pairs? Pairs are given. First one is CH3H, the bond which is shown in the question. So, here carbon hydrogen bond is shown and here carbon bromine bond is shown. Which is more polar? Yes, the answer is carbon bromine. Isn't it? The reason is because or due to high electron negativity of bromine. Isn't it? Now, the next one is which is the bond shown here, carbon nitrogen bond, here carbon oxygen bond. Here, the first question, the carbon hydrogen bond is non-polar actually. This is non-polar. This is only polar due to high electronegativity of bromine. Here, carbon nitrogen bond is also polar, carbon oxygen bond is also polar. Then which is more polar here? Yes, carbon oxygen, because what is the reason? because oxygen is more electronegative than nitrogen. Oxygen is more electronegative than nitrogen. Now, the next, carbon oxygen bond and carbon sulfur bond, both are polar. This one also polar and this one also polar. Then which is more polar here, oxygen or sulfur? Yes, oxygen is more electronegative. So here what is answer? Because oxygen is more electronegative than sulfur. Okay. Now, the next question is question number 12.15. In which carbon the inductive effect is expected to be the least in the following question? So here bromine is present, so we know that here delta minus and this carbon will be delta plus, so bromine will be withdrawing electrons towards itself, minus side, and due to this it will be shifting towards this carbon, so that this carbon will become 2 delta plus. So due to this 2 delta plus charge, this electron pair will be shifting towards this carbon, so that this carbon gets 3 delta plus. So which carbon has the least? Answer is the CH3 carbon. So this is about the inductive effect or I effect. Now the next is hyperconjugation effect. It is also known as no bond resonance. Hyperconjugation is also known as no bond resonance. It is not like inductive effect. In inductive effect there is no movement or delocalization of any electrons happening, but in hyperconjugation it is a delocalization of sigma electrons of CH bond. It is a delocalization of sigma electrons of CH bond, which is of an alkyl group which is directly attached to either to an unsaturated system. Unsaturated system means containing double bond or triple bond, or which is attached to a CH bond which is attached to a carbon containing unhybridized or unshared p orbital. So once again it is a delocalization of carbon hydrogen sigma bond which is directly attached to either to a carbon containing multiple bond or a carbon containing unshared or unhybridized p orbitals. Now, hyperconjugation is mainly used to explain the stability of carbocations. We know that tertiary carbocations are more stable than secondary, than primary, and methyl carbocations are least stable. So the stability of this carbocations we can explain based on this hyperconjugation. So for this I have taken a primary carbocation, which is example for a primary carbocation, ethyl carbocation. Formula is CH3CH2+. And if you expand the structure of ethane, what we are getting is CH3CH2+. Now here if you look at the structure, this is the carbon containing or carrying positive charge, and we know that the carbon carrying positive charge will be sp2 hybridized. Carbocation hybridization is sp2. That means this carbon has an unhybridized p orbital present, isn't it? So this CH bond, this how many CH bonds in this adjacent carbon? 1 CH, 2 CH, 3 CH bond. And these CH bonds are actually, we know that all the single bonds are sigma bonds. So the sigma electrons of this CH bond is actually adjacent to the carbon containing unhybridized p orbital, isn't it? So they can undergo delocalization. So here actually this sigma electrons of CH bond, they will be in conjugation with this unhybridized p orbital present in this positively charged carbon. So what happens here is Hyperconjugation we are representing like resonance, we are representing by using double-headed arrow. So first, here actually we have 3 CH bonds adjacent to this carbon containing unhybridized p orbitals, isn't it? So first we are considering if this CH bond is undergoing delocalization to here. This carbon hydrogen CH bond is first undergoing delocalization to here. It will come to this position, carbon carrying unhybridized p orbital. So what happens? What is the first hyperconjugated structure we are getting? Hydrogen, no change. This hydrogen also no change. Here there was a single bond, now there is no more bond present here. Single will become double. This carbon, hydrogen, hydrogen, no change. When this electron pair comes to this position, positive charge on this carbon will be neutralized, and since the electrons are moving from here, hydrogen is losing electrons, so it will get a positive charge. So this is the first hyperconjugative structure we are getting from ethyl carbocation. Now the second possibility is instead of this hydrogen, if CH3 CH2 plus, okay, instead of this hydrogen, if this CH hydrogen is undergoing delocalization to this position, what will happen? What is the next possible hyperconjugated structure? No change on this carbon hydrogen. Here single will become double. Here now there will not be any more bond between this carbon and hydrogen will be getting a positive charge. Again the positive charge on this carbon will be neutralized, because what is the reason why this carbon positive charge is neutralized? Because they are getting a pair of electron. Pair of electron means negative charge. So this is the second hyperconjugated structure we are getting. Now the third possibility is, instead of these two carbon hydrogen sigma electrons, if this carbon hydrogen sigma bond is undergoing delocalization to here, because there is 3 carbon hydrogen sigma bond adjacent to carbon containing unhybridized p orbital. So what we will be getting it as? Carbon, here no change, here no change, here. Now there is no more bond between these two carbon and hydrogen, and this hydrogen will be getting a positive charge, single will become double. Now positive charge on carbon will be neutralized. So how many hyperconjugative structures we are getting for a primary or ethyl carbocation? That is 3 hyperconjugative structures for primary. Same way, if we draw hyperconjugated structures for secondary, we will be getting 6 hyperconjugated structures, and for tertiary we will be getting 9 hyperconjugated structures. From this it is clear that more the number of hyperconjugated structures, more will be the stability. That is why tertiary carbocations are more stable than primary and secondary. The reason clear? Very important question for next year. Why tertiary carbocations? Very important question. Why tertiary carbocations are more stable than primary and secondary? The reason is due to more number of hyperconjugated structures. For tertiary, 9 hyperconjugated structures are possible. So very important short note, that is hyperconjugation is the reason for the stability of carbocations. More the number of hyperconjugated structures, higher will be the stability. Tertiary carbocations are more stable than primary and secondary because it has 9 hyperconjugative structures. For primary 3, for secondary 6, for tertiary 9. So then why methyl carbocations are least stable? Because if you look at the methyl carbocation structure, CH3 plus. So here this carbon atom is actually sp2 hybridized with an unhybridized p orbital, isn't it? Is there any other CH sigma bond adjacent to this carbon? No. There is no adjacent carbon hydrogen sigma bond. It has carbon hydrogen sigma bond which is present on the same carbon. It is not hyperconjugation. Hyperconjugation is the delocalization of carbon hydrogen bond which is adjacent to carbon containing unhybridized p orbital. So in methyl carbocation there is no adjacent CH sigma bond to unhybridized p orbital containing carbon to undergo delocalization. So, the very important point in methyl carbocation, there is no hyperconjugation at all. That is why it is least stable. So, this is about the two permanent effects, that is hyperconjugation and inductive effect.